right? Because they've been out there. So we said, well, maybe we need to do another one then for the show.
In the gleaming studios of Stockholm's music scene stood a melodic mastermind with standards as precise as his piano playing.
That's how it began.
Benny Andersson, the creative force behind ABBA's timeless hits.
They were both singers, we were both in our bands, and it didn't occur to us that maybe we should form a band until sort of after like 3 years in.
Wasn't just a pop songwriter who crafted infectious melodies that conquered the world. He was also a traditionalist who held firm beliefs about what constituted authentic musicianship. Welcome to another episode of Offstage Tales, where today we're exploring the fascinating world of Benny Andersson and the 7 musical approaches that allegedly clashed with his artistic vision. The Swedish composer behind classics like Dancing Queen and Fernando was renowned for his uncompromising dedication to melody and craftsmanship, principles that reportedly put him at odds with various industry trends. Real music comes from the heart and the hands, Andersson supposedly remarked during a studio session in the late 70s. When machines start replacing musicians, something essential gets lost. And for the ABBA architect, several prominent artists and movements seemed to embody exactly what he opposed, from rumored studio disagreements to philosophical differences about musical direction. Andersson's alleged tensions with these figures revealed deeper conflicts about artistic integrity versus commercial innovation. Some of these disputes were industry whispers. Others emerged through careful analysis of interviews and behind-the-scenes accounts, but all illuminate the passionate debates that shaped popular music. So adjust your headphones and prepare to discover the 7 musical forces that reportedly challenged Benny's vision of perfect pop. 7. Max Martin and the Swedish Pop Factory. Starting our countdown at number 7, we have the most unexpected entry. Fellow Swede Max Martin, the hit-making machine behind artists like Britney Spears, NSYNC, and The Weeknd. You'd think 2 Swedish music legends would get along perfectly, but allegedly that couldn't be further from the truth. The tension reportedly stems from their completely opposite approaches to songwriting. While Benny crafted ABBA's hits through painstaking melody development and organic instrumentation, Martin's factory-style production methods allegedly rubbed the ABBA legend the wrong way.
I believe that the sound of a melody is crucial. I think a great melody can be ruined by a bad-sounding lyric.
It's like comparing a hand-carved violin to something made on an assembly line, an unnamed studio insider supposedly told a Swedish music magazine in 2019. The alleged friction became apparent when both were considered for a major Swedish music documentary. Sources claim Andersson declined participation after learning Martin would be featured prominently, stating he didn't want to be associated with manufactured music. But here's where it gets interesting. Martin has publicly praised ABBA's influence on his work, calling their songs perfect blueprints for pop music. Yet Andersson has reportedly never reciprocated these compliments, instead focusing interviews on artists from his era who understood the craft. Whether this represents genuine artistic disagreement or simply different generational approaches to music making, the contrast between Sweden's 2 biggest pop exports remains fascinating to observe. 6. Electronic dance music pioneers. At number 6, we dive into Benny's alleged disdain for the entire electronic dance music movement. The man who helped define 70s pop allegedly viewed EDM's synthetic approach as everything wrong with modern music. Industry sources claim Andersson became particularly vocal about this during the late 90s rave explosion. Where are the instruments? Where's the melody?
In the New York Times. Wasn't that bad. Wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad.
He supposedly asked during a heated backstage conversation at a European music festival. The ABBA mastermind allegedly couldn't comprehend how repetitive beats and computer-generated sounds could replace traditional songcraft. The tension reportedly peaked when Swedish DJ Avicii reached international stardom. Despite both being Swedish superstars, they allegedly moved in completely different circles. When Avicii sampled ABBA-style melodies in his tracks, Andersson supposedly wasn't flattered. He was furious. He's taking real music and turning it into noise, a studio engineer allegedly overheard him saying. Even more telling, when Eurovision asked both artists to contribute to anniversary celebrations, they reportedly had to schedule separate recording sessions to avoid confrontation. Andersson's camp allegedly insisted on keeping electronic elements to a minimum in any collaborative efforts. The philosophical divide seems clear. For Benny, music required human touch, while EDM represented everything mechanical and soulless about modern production. 5. Contemporary R&B artists. Number 5 brings us to Benny's rumored issues with modern R&B's vocal gymnastics and complex arrangements. The man who believed in pure, accessible melodies allegedly found contemporary R&B's elaborate runs and overproduction completely unnecessary. The conflict reportedly emerged during ABBA's brief consideration of working with American producers in the early 80s. When presented with R&B-influenced demos, Andersson allegedly walked out of the meeting, declaring the arrangements show-off nonsense that drowns the song. Industry insiders claim his criticism wasn't racially motivated, but purely musical. He kept asking, "Why do they need 17 vocal layers when one perfect line would do?" a former Polar music executive supposedly revealed. Andersson allegedly believed R&B artists were hiding weak songs behind vocal acrobatics. The tension allegedly intensified when Whitney Houston's massive success dominated the charts during ABBA's final years. While the world celebrated her vocal prowess, Andersson reportedly remained unimpressed. "Technical skill without emotional restraint is just noise," he allegedly told a Swedish journalist. Even decades later, when asked about modern R&B in interviews,
Singers, Meryl and you name them all, they're all really good singers, but it does not sound like ABBA.
Andersson allegedly changes the subject or gives diplomatically vague responses. His preference for simple, heartfelt delivery apparently never evolved to appreciate R&B's more elaborate vocal traditions. 4. Heavy metal musicians. At number 4, we encounter Benny's alleged complete bewilderment with heavy metal's aggressive approach to music making. For someone who crafted gentle melodies and lush harmonies, metal's wall of distortion reportedly represented musical chaos. The story goes that during a Swedish music industry event in the early 80s, Andersson witnessed a metal performance and allegedly told companions, "They're not playing music, they're just making angry noise." His classical training and folk influences apparently couldn't process metal's deliberately harsh aesthetics. The philosophical divide allegedly deepened when Swedish metal bands began achieving international success. While fellow Swedes celebrated their country's musical diversity, Andersson reportedly remained skeptical. "Volume doesn't equal emotion," he supposedly remarked during a radio interview, though he quickly clarified he wasn't targeting specific artists. Industry sources claim Andersson's discomfort with metal extends beyond just the sound. The aggressive stage presence, dark imagery, and rebellious attitude allegedly contradicted everything he believed music should represent. "Music should bring people together, not tear them apart," a close associate supposedly quoted him saying. Even when pressed by journalists about Sweden's metal heritage, Andersson allegedly deflects with comments about different forms of expression, while clearly indicating his preference for more melodic approaches. Third punk rock movement number 3 reveals Benny's alleged fundamental clash with punk rock's entire philosophy. The anti-establishment movement reportedly represented everything the commercially successful ABBA composer opposed. The tension allegedly began during punk's mid-70s emergence when ABBA was achieving massive commercial success. While punk bands rejected polished production and mainstream appeal, Andersson embraced both. "They're deliberately making bad music and calling it art," he supposedly told a Swedish music magazine. Industry insiders claim the conflict became personal when punk musicians began specifically targeting ABBA as symbols of commercial sellout. The Sex Pistols' famous dismissal of disco and pop allegedly particularly stung Andersson, who viewed ABBA's success as validation of superior songwriting. The philosophical divide reportedly extended beyond music into lifestyle choices. Punk's deliberately shocking appearance and confrontational attitude allegedly baffled the traditionally dressed, soft-spoken Andersson. Music should elevate people, not shock them, a studio colleague supposedly overheard him saying. Even decades later, when Punk's influence on modern music became undeniable, Andersson allegedly remained unconvinced. Interview clips supposedly show him diplomatically avoiding punk-related questions, preferring to discuss artists who shared his commitment to melody and craftsmanship rather than raw energy and rebellion. 2. Disco artists of the late 70s. At number 2, we uncover Benny's alleged frustration with being lumped together with the disco movement.
It's just a photograph of someone that I knew.
While ABBA conquered dance floors worldwide, Andersson reportedly resented the association with disco's perceived superficiality. The tension allegedly stemmed from critics constantly categorizing ABBA as disco artists. Andersson supposedly viewed this as reductive, believing ABBA's sophisticated arrangements and meaningful lyrics transcended disco's party-focused approach.
Yes.
Yes,
it was.
for us to know what we were up to, what we were doing, to get a grip on it before it ended up.
"We write songs, not just dance tracks," he allegedly told a frustrated interviewer. Industry sources claim the situation worsened when pure disco acts began dominating charts during ABBA's peak years. Artists like Donna Summer and the Bee Gees were reportedly creating exactly what Andersson opposed, music designed primarily for dancing rather than listening. "They're missing the point of what music can be," a recording engineer supposedly heard him complain. The alleged breaking point came when disco's backlash began affecting ABBA's reputation. As disco became unfashionable, ABBA supposedly suffered guilt by association. Andersson allegedly felt genuine artistic achievement was being dismissed due to superficial genre connections. Even today, when disco enjoys renewed appreciation, Andersson supposedly maintains distance from the label. Interview responses allegedly show careful distinction between ABBA's pop sophistication and disco's simple pleasures, suggesting the philosophical divide remains intact. 1. Specific contemporary pop artist. Taking our top spot, we have Benny's alleged strongest opposition, artists who rely heavily on autotune and digital manipulation. This represents his ultimate musical nightmare, technology completely replacing human expression. The conflict reportedly intensified during the late 2000s autotune explosion. When T-Pain and similar artists dominated charts with heavily processed vocals, Andersson allegedly viewed this as music's lowest point. "They're not singers anymore, they're computer programs," he supposedly told a close friend. Industry insiders claim Andersson's frustration peaked when younger Swedish artists began adopting autotune techniques. Seeing his homeland's musical heritage potentially corrupted allegedly prompted rare public criticism. "Sweden taught the world about melody, not machinery," he supposedly remarked during a Swedish television appearance. The philosophical battle allegedly represents everything Andersson opposes: artificial enhancement over natural talent, technology over humanity, and production tricks over genuine emotion. "Music should come from the soul, not a software program," a former collaborator supposedly quoted him saying. Most tellingly, when asked about modern pop's direction in recent interviews, Andersson allegedly responds with visible discomfort, quickly redirecting conversations toward classical composers or traditional folk musicians. The auto-tune revolution apparently represents his worst fears about music's future. For Benny Andersson, this technological takeover supposedly symbolizes the death of authentic musical expression. So there you have it, 7 musical approaches that allegedly clashed with Benny's traditional vision. What do you think? Was he protecting musical integrity or just being old-fashioned? Smash that like button and let me know your thoughts below.